Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome. This video is critical. I'm never going to bring you guys irrelevant information. I'm never going to talk about stuff that you do not need to know. This information is vital, especially as an investor. You cannot be blindly investing and expect success. It's not realistic. There's too many things happening. The markets are way too speculative. This is the holy grail of information, ladies and gentlemen. This is sourced by the Silver Institute. Nobody else is posting this stuff, and it's written today, fresh off the press, always keeping you guys in the loop. Now, this is a numbers game. These are the stats. I'm going to break the stats down. I'm going to tell you how this will affect the markets. You got to be subscribed. You got to be tuned in. I post 2-3 videos on a day-to-day basis. With that said, let's jump into it. The Silver Institute hosted a webinar today to discuss its annual interim silver market review. Philip Newman, managing director at Metals Focus, and his colleague Adam Webb, director of Mine Supply, presented these findings. The interim review features historical supply, demand stats, and provisional estimates for 2020. The following are the key highlights from the presentation. So, physical investment is expected to surge by 27% to 236 million ounces in 2020, which would be a 5-year high. Right off the bat, we have key information. A 5-year high. Demand is rising from 5G towers, electric vehicles, and green energy. And that's rightfully so, with Joe Biden leading the way with the green energy revolution. Silver, being the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity and electricity, is in all this stuff. And we know the production has been getting cut back, but the demand is increasing. So there's going to be a problem here. There's consequences to happen. Low supply, high demand shoots the price up. The largest retail market for bars and coins, the U.S., will lead the way with a projected 62% gain. That's why we saw a shortage earlier this year with the U.S. Mint. Royal Canadian Mint shut down for 2 weeks. I mean, if we want to talk about a shortage, we're in it right now, and we're starting to see the effects. We're starting to see the consequences. That's why the American Eagles have $15, $20 premiums attached. That's a bullion coin. It should be sold at spot price. But they're almost as much as pandas and coins that are high premium silver, semi-numismatic stuff. It's crazy. This reflects the impact of increased price volatility and healthy price expectations. The second largest market, India, however, has experienced a markedly weaker second half, with outright liquidations resulting in an estimated 20% decline for the full year total. Now, they use most of this stuff for jewelry. I mean, there's different reasons, there's different reasons why people are investing and have a demand for bullion, and we're starting to see the consequences, the outcome of that. The most significant development in the silver investment market this year has been the strength of silver-backed exchange-traded products, or ETPs, and this is the demand. Year-to-date gains through November 13th have reached 326 million ounces. As a result, global holdings have for the first time comfortably surpassed 1 billion ounces, achieving a new record high of 1.026 billion ounces. For the full year, Metals Focus forecasts an increase of 350 million ounces on end the 2019 levels, which compares extremely favorable with the rise of 81 million ounces. And that's dangerous because for the last 7 years, production has been getting cut back by the hundreds of millions of ounces. We have Mexico and Peru, which accumulate 40% of the global mine supply, have been drastically hurt, not only from the pandemic. This is pre-pandemic. They don't care about silver. It's not putting money in their pocket. If you were a miner, why would you look for something that's $20 an ounce when you could be looking for something else that's 80 times more valuable, which is gold? They find silver by accident. It's a byproduct. They're not looking for silver, but if they find some silver, they'll take it. They're not looking for it, though. And now the consequences are starting to seep through. This year, the silver price has risen strongly, achieving an intra-year gain through November 13th of 38%. The pandemic has led to a surge in safe haven demand, and rightfully so. When people are uncertain about the government, about banks, they transfer their money in something that holds its value. This price upside has been accompanied by a market improvement in the gold to silver ratio, meaning silver's been outperforming gold, which we knew was going to happen. Having touched a record high of 127 to 1 in March, that was when silver was $11. The ratio has fallen to 76 this month. In terms of the full year average, Metals Focus expects the silver price to have risen by 27% year on year to average $20. This would represent the highest annual average since 2013. Silver mine production expected to fall by 6.3% in 2020 to 780 million ounces. This reflects the pandemic lockdowns implemented by several major silver producers during the first half of the year, which required mines to temporarily halt production. This is what I was just talking about. This has led to lower output from Mexico, Peru, and China, which I also was just talking about. The last countrywide restriction of mining were lifted at the end of May, and most mines have now returned to full production rates. And I don't think people understand how bad this hurt production. It hurt beyond people could fathom. Because even when production did start again, they had safety precautions, limited workers, right? Limited workers, but not only that, the distribution, since there were so many boundaries and borders that were closed, distribution also got hurt. And this is when demand is rising the most. This is when there's $30 silver in August. This is when there's not enough physical silver for people to get. So, however, there's a continued risk of localized outbreaks of the virus, which may impact output from individual operations in the future. And it only gets worse. A second wave is hitting. The projected numbers are crazy. There's probably going to be a second lockdown. Some countries already have the second lockdown. And if these two countries, which remember accumulate 40% of the global supply, get shut down again, I don't see how there's not going to be any silver to go around. It's going to be scarce. There's going to be a situation that we've never been in. And who knows what that could do to the price, because we've never experienced this. The pandemic has also had a pronounced impact on silver demand, especially in March, April. Although demand has recovered since that trough, most areas are still on track for heavy full-year losses. Industrial fabrication, for example, forecast to drop by 9% this year, 466 million ounces, a 5-year low. This reflects the impact of lockdown restrictions, with supply chains heavily disrupted, which I was just talking about. The boundaries, the borders are closed, and users adopting an increasingly cautious approach to inventory replenishment and factories facing labor supply problems, which I was also talking about, limited people on these job sites. By the way, guys, I haven't read through this article. I keep saying what I just talked about because I know what I'm talking about. When I tell you guys these numbers, when I say something, I mean it. I'm not just saying stuff out my butt. I know what I'm talking about. I do this on a daily basis. This is my job. I'm always going to give you guys accurate information that's also crucial to know. In terms of some of the key end-use industrial segments, Metals Focus estimates that photovoltaic demand will fall by 11%, around 88 million ounces. Even so, this remains historically high total. The use of silver in automotive sector, which also is electric vehicles, is seeing a slightly steeper decline, as estimated 17% drop in global light vehicle production outweighs ongoing gains in the use of silver in each vehicle. One bright note is sectors connected to home renovation have often performed better because of the trends downward increased teleworking, which is an interesting point they made. I never thought of it like that. But we know the next 3 to 5 years, silver demand is going to be through the roof on scales that we cannot fathom. Not only are we throwing trillions of dollars in stimulus to, cushion the people that were out of work, that were, impacted by the pandemic, but trillions of dollars going into this green energy revolution, like they said, photovoltaics. Silver is the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity and electricity and light sensibility. So with that said, nothing performs like silver, especially for as cheap it is. It's intertwined in everything, from space equipment, medical wall paint, colloidal silver in the medical world. I mean, it's intertwined in everything. So it's a win-win situation for silver. Even when I'll put it this way. Gold, it only really benefits, it only really is bullish when times are bad, because it's a safe haven. It's used for bars, coins, jewelry, right? It's not really used for anything besides that. I mean, there's some gold in laptops, but not at the rate silver is. But silver isn't only a safe haven, it's also an industrial metal. So when times are going good, silver also benefits because that means production's up for all this technological stuff we're using it for. And think about how we advance technologically. We're headed into a digital era, which means silver is going to be needed more in all these new gadgets, these new tech gadgets. And I mean, I can't, my name is Silver Slayer, not Gold Slayer. Silver is definitely more beneficial. There's more potential, and it just makes a lot more sense. Yes, gold is still a perfect investment because it holds its value. It's like it's putting a hammer and nail. It's definitely the way to secure your wealth. Silver is more volatile. It's riskier because it's a smaller market. So when people are investing into it, it's like gold on steroids. But in the long term, I don't see how people could look at silver and say it's not as bullish as gold. It just doesn't make sense. So global silver jewelry and silverware demand are expected to fall by 23% and 34% respectively in 2020. 153 million ounces and 40 million ounces. Heavy losses in India underpin the weakness in each segment. This in turn reflects the impact of the widespread of lockdowns, which combat the pandemic, which hit disposable incomes elevated and at times record rupee silver prices at weak Indian economy. The world's second largest jewelry consumer, like I was saying earlier, in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, they use silver for much different things. It's mostly jewelry over there and for religious practices. Although the extent of the decline was more modest than for gold and heavy, destocking implies a sharp turnaround soon for this market's suppliers. So overall, and despite an only modest increase in scrap, the global silver market is forecast to see another physical surplus in 2020 as of 31 million ounces, the highest in 3 years. And I want to stop right here. I know I stop a lot, guys, but this is so, there's so much quality information. It's condensed with so much information. Each line, each sentence is telling us so much information. So I'm going to stop a lot, but it's rightfully so. You guys got to know this stuff. So they talk about only a modest increase in scrap. And that's important to pay attention to because the gold to silver ratio is around 80 to 1. I think they said 78 to 1, meaning it takes 78 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. But we know it comes out of the ground roughly 8 to 1. But I have been saying it's even lower than 8 to 1. And I'll tell you, and this is the reason. Gold is re-scrapped, remelted, recycled, reused because it's profitable to do so. People are going through their jewelry drawers, they're pawning gold. They're taking gold out of laptops. It's profitable to do that. You can make good money doing that. I've done it myself. Silver, though, it's not profitable to do so. Nobody's spending time to take silver out of a laptop, or they're not going through the jewelry drawer going to sell a silver necklace. We'll get like $2.50 for it. So silver is mostly lost in technology. Gold isn't. So the recirculating supply of gold is very heavy, but the recirculating supply of silver isn't. Most silver gets lost. So even though it comes out of the ground 8 to 1, all the gold that's getting dug up is going to be recirculated while a lot of the silver that's dug up is lost. So I think the ratio is probably around 3-4 to 1. It's interesting because at a ratio of 78 to 1, you would say, well, wouldn't the ratio be much smaller? Well, that's for one reason only. People have royalized gold. It's not used for anything more important. It doesn't perform better. Silver performs better. It's really not even as scarce. It's this. Back in the day, in biblical times, the ratio was 2.5 parts silver equals 1 part gold. So, and they saw silver was magical. It could purify water. It responded with other elements like no other metal. And the ratio is around 8 to 1 going on, 16 to 1 until the early 1900s. In 1930, when FDR was in office, he changed the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1. He, right then, completely devalued silver, and it really hasn't recovered since. So this compares with 26 million ounces in 2019, represents the 5th uninterrupted annual surplus in the silver market. Even so, the strength of global silver investments expected to continue comfortably absorbing the surplus. So now we have silver supply and demand. This is the holy grail of numbers, right? People that want the proof in the pudding, here it is. If someone's going to say that those numbers are off or whatever, this is the Silver Institute. Nobody else can post these numbers. This is where all these articles, all these sites get their numbers from. And it just came out today. So we really are the first ones to see what's really going on from a supply demand factor, which is one of the most influential things that affect the price of gold and silver. So you can see a lot of it is negative. It's going down. So what that really is showing us is that, one, things are already getting worse, and two, they're going to get a lot worse. When I'm telling you guys that trillions of dollars get thrown out, we can't fathom what that's going to do to the dollar. The dollar's already on its last leg. The dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power, 40% or 44% in the last 20 years. Things are getting a lot worse, a lot faster. This pandemic has sped things up. It's like a time warp. We knew pre-pandemic, we knew that things were going to get worse over time. That's why we've been investing in silver for several years before we knew there was going to be a pandemic. But since this pandemic happened, it sped things up, and now things are getting a lot more serious before people were prepared or ready. That's dangerous for several different reasons. One, for me being greedy, I wasn't hoping for silver to rise for another 10, 15 years so I can accumulate it for cheap. I don't want silver to rise right now because then I have to pay higher prices, right? That's why it's funny when you see these like mainstream companies. They'll say, "Oh, silver price is $25. It's a bear market." We won't tell you to start buying it until the price rises, right? Why would you start buying it after it already exploded? It makes no sense. You're supposed to buy low, sell high. Get in before the curve and sell it after it explodes. These mainstream guys are telling you to buy it when it explodes. And then after it explodes, it's probably going to cool down and have a sell-off. And then they're probably going to say that's when you should sell it because it's too risky. They're doing it the opposite. Most people buy high, sell low. I'm telling you to buy low, sell high. That's investing 101. Same thing happened with Bitcoin. I've been telling people on this channel that literally this channel, a couple of years ago, 2017, I was buying Bitcoin at $1,800. I would literally make my Coinbase transactions on stream when I used to live stream and stuff. So I bought Bitcoin at $1,800, sold it around $18,000. Most people bought Bitcoin around $10,000, $15,000. They bought it when they had proof that it was exploding. But that's the wrong time. When most people are buying it, that's when you need to be selling it, right? Because most people buy it after they have proof. But when there's proof, that means it's already exploded. You got to do it early. You got to get in before that. People don't know how to invest. So anyways, there's a lot more stuff we have to cover today. This is definitely the most important information on the day. But like I said, you got to be subscribed. Tune in on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to give you guys the inside scoop. Always keep you guys in the loop of what's happening and what you should do about it every single day. If you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Do yourself a favor. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about how many subscribers I get. I don't care how many views my videos get. When I tell you to subscribe, I'm telling you this for you, not for me. You really need to know this stuff. Imagine someone who doesn't know this article, that didn't hear all this information that I covered and what this does to affect the market. Imagine someone just that's investing into this stuff, just kind of buying it whenever they want or selling whenever they want. Do you really think they're going to make money? No. Right? Back in the day, once upon a time, maybe so. But there's too many things happening, too many things affecting the prices, and the markets are much different. Times are ever changing. The markets are more speculative now. They shift a lot easier, and they shift more off of perspective more than the real use, which is scary, but it's true, and that's why we got to adapt and adjust. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. This was Silver Slayer. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.